Hello. Okay, so I want to begin explaining again. That light behind me is annoying. I'm sorry. Bear with me one second. Look, I'll put a nice shirt on for you, okay? I can always edit this out. I'm working on my editing skills. Not very good yet. What I have for you is many, many ideas and understanding of earth, and understanding of energy, and understanding who God is, and understanding the Temple of Solomon, and understanding religion, and understanding life, and understanding our purpose, and understanding many, many things. Unfortunately, what I don't understand is the YouTube programs to be able to screen share and all the editing and all these things are a little bit difficult for me at this time. I just ended up deleting a lot of my videos because I felt that they were just too long, and I want to relabel everything. So, what do I label this one? Energy, understanding God. And I showed you this symbol here. It's my trademark symbol. Symbols, there are many, many meanings behind one symbol. A picture is 1,000 words. So this symbol represents many things, okay? You have your circle of the earth. You have here a picture within a picture. And the eye inside of here is a picture of this picture. And then within that eye, another one and another one and another one. So it really is eternal. Okay, this is also the Vitruvian man. You have the man standing here with his arms spread. His feet are together here, and his feet are apart here. This is the circle of the earth that the Vitruvian man stands in, and here is your square. This is also, you also have a compass, and you have a square. And there's many letters in here. You have a W, you have an A, you have a Y, Yah-U-Ah is one way that they say God's name. Down here you have the numbers 1 through 9. There's a 9, there's a 2, there's a 7, there's a 6, there's an 8. I'd have to find them all, but they're hidden in there. There's a 1. Anyway, let's talk about the Vitruvian man. When you unscramble the Vitruvian man, it spells Navi Time Travi. And this, in the future, will be a time travel device. The man that's standing inside of the circle is Abraham. He holds in his hands the sun, which is your minutes hands and your days. The sun is Ra, or man, male, Ra. Oh, cool. Pull that out there. Ra. And then the other hand then is Isis, the moon, which is your hour's hand or your month's hand. The hands of time, they go around the clock. The clock is the earth behind me. You see the circle of the earth. And in Abraham's center, have his phallus, which then shoots out his seed, and it is written, I will make your seed as the stars of the heavens. Talking about the children of Abraham, which are then the stars and the constellations. And constellations, they give us the seasons and they give us the years. See if I can move this over here, huh? Maybe. I can get us closer. Cool. We're setting up our little studio here. Sorry, this is as good as I have right now. All right, so the man here, I'm standing inside of the earth. My hands go around time. You have half light and half darkness. That's your yin and yang symbol. As the sun and the moon go around the circle of the earth, which, by the way, our earth is this magnet. You have your North Pole center, South Pole perimeter. Now, you can even look up on YouTube and you can see that they've done experiments by dipping metal in liquid nitrogen to make it super cold, and they could place it right over top to hover over top of a magnetic field. They could position it however they want and it stays. Or you could push it and it'll stay in the circle of the magnet. It'll go around in a circle, which is exactly what our sun and moon do on the earth. And that's how we tell our time, isn't it? By the sun, daylight savings time, and the moon. Israel goes by a lunar calendar, and Americ Ra goes by a solar calendar. But really, none of the calendars in themselves are correct, because Israel, every, 7 years, they have to add a 13th month to realign their calendar and their moon with the sun, because the moon travels at a slower speed than the sun, and the sun is always lapping the moon. That's actually what gives us our moon phases, right? Pretend that one of these, here we have is the sun, and we have here our moon, and they're traveling, but the sun keeps passing the moon. So when we're over here, the sun here is shining on just one angle of the moon, so we only see half of it. But when it's directly across from us, then we have the full moon. And they wind in and out from tropic to tropic. There's a Tropic of Cancer towards the center of the earth, and your Tropic of Capricorn out here, and then in the middle between them is your equator. Now, Capricorn is right here, and you have all this extra area here, and you have Cancer in here, but you have all this extra area in the middle. So what is that? That's exactly what a magnet is. Look, I'll put it in front of our poster. So around the magnet is an invisible field of energy, and in the center, there's still invisible energy in here. It's your electromagnetic field. It's hot. Sorry, I can't do this shirt thing. I really try to save on using energy in these days until we have our unlimited clean energy source, which I've been trying to show. Okay. So Vitruvian Man, right? He shoots out his seed, which is the 12 tribes of Israel, which is the 12 months, which with the wandering stars gives us all generations, because the wandering stars are planets. They never repeat the same exact configuration, which then brings us to one of the signs that was fulfilled, the prophecy fulfilled in Revelations 12. It is written, there is a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon at her feet, and 12 stars. It says, there was a great sign in the heavens. A woman was clothed with the sun, with the moon at her feet, and 12 stars above her head, and travailing in pain, she gave birth. On September 23rd, 2017, the constellation Virgo was signed in the heavens. She was clothed with the sun. It happened during the day. She had the moon under her feet, and she had 12 stars above her head. Usually, she only has 9 stars above her head, the constellation Leo, the line of the tribe of Judah. But on this day, she had 3 additional stars or planets lined up with the 9 to give her a crown of 12 stars. Those 3 planets represent the 3 wise men who came and followed Messiah's star, and the Virgin gave birth. Okay? Virgo gave birth to the king planet Jupiter, who was in her womb for exactly 9 months. It was going back and forth inside her womb. And on the day of September 23rd, 2017, also known as Tishrei 1, the 5th appointment in the scriptures in Leviticus 23, the 5th appointment, the Feast of Trumpets, On that day, she gave birth. The planet, the king planet, came out of her womb. And this was also Jacob's dream, or I mean Joseph's dream, right? Remember, he had a dream that the sun, moon, and the stars came and bowed down to him. Well, that's exactly what happened. This fulfilled many things in Scripture. It also fulfilled Matthew 24, 29 through 31, where it is written that after those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon won't give its light. And then you will see the sign of the son of Adam. And then he will send his messengers with the sound of a trumpet. Well, the sign happened on the Feast of Trumpets. He sends his messengers with the sound of a trumpet. Do you see how script yours is a parable? It's a story. It's his story. We all have a script, yours. If the earth is a stage and we are all actors, we all have our time in the light, and we are all stars in the kingdom of heaven. All stars. Children of Abraham. Father Abraham. So, the sign happened exactly on Tishrei 1, and you might say, I just mentioned the scripture of Matthew 24, 29 through 31, where it says the sun will be dark and the moon won't give its light. And you might say, well, when did that happen during the sign? Well, that happened exactly 33 days prior to the sign of Revelations 12, when we had the great American eclipse. The sun was darkened and the moon didn't give its light. And 33 is a very significant number because that's the age of Messiah. And that's also a very significant number in many occults, like, the Freemasons and things. They have the 32 steps, and then 33 is the top, which, by the way, represents other things as well, and we will get to that. As above, so below. As above, so below. El. In heaven, on earth as in heaven. And I mentioned Israel. And I'm saying that this is not the correct order of the letters. It's not Israel, it's Ra-El is. Now let me show you why. We're going to get into language a little bit in this video because language is like a foundation. Where's my blank papers? So I can do some writing for you. Okay, just need to have that on standby. Here we have the Temple of Solomon. Now I'm going to show you why it's Ra-El is and not Israel. Because is represents Isis, which is the moon, the female. Ra represents the sun, the male. And El represents the electromagnetic spirit, vibration, frequency of life, which is the Freemason symbol here of the Temple of Solomon. Solar man, Solo man, Han Solo. I guess I am doing this all alone. And it is written in Scripture, okay, you have your two pillars here. You have Boaz, and you have Jacquin. And above Boaz here, we have Ra, the sun. And above Jacquin, we have Isis, the moon. And in the center here, we have El. It is written that the sun is seated at the right hand of power. And who is power? Is El. El represents, you can look up on YouTube, solar luminance, star in a jar, frequency of the heavens, and you can see that they can recreate a star. It's a bubble inside of liquid that they pass sound waves through, and those sound waves cause it to vibrate, and the particles come together and separate very quickly and cause it to light up like a star. And besides that, where's my speaker? Besides that, you can also make the patterns of the stars. You can recreate those in a speaker. If you put a little basin of water on the top and you play different hertz through the speakers, it causes different patterns. And that's exactly what you see when you look through a telescope at the stars. So that is why El, the energy, the waves of life, the vibration, the El, the electric, the elect, the electromagnetic, represents God, the Most High, El. The North Star would be the center, most high, at the top of the dome of the earth. Now, our head also represents the dome of the earth. Really, I believe that we're just living inside of God's imagination here. The whole earth is his imagination. Well, hey, God, can you stop imagining so much pollution? Well, guess what? I guess El gave us free will. So we're destroying our own minds. We've made that decision because we can do that to ourselves these days too. We can do things to ourselves that are not good for us. We could choose to do that. A lot of it's done for lack of knowledge. So that's where we're trying to go with this, to teach us some knowledge. And then we can turn away from these things and we can put the spirits of God inside our chakra. So here we are. The sun sits at the right hand. Ra is at the right hand of power, which is El, the star here. So that means that Isis is at the left. Ra-El is. Ra-El is. R-E-I. We also have here, we have the compass. And that was also on my symbol. Sometimes I don't realize what I'm drawing. There's also a compass and a square in this as well. So the compass represents the great architect or architext. We can text or divide words with the sword. The sword is our words. You move the S over and it's words. So you could say architect, designing, or architext, dividing words. And this can also be an arrow pointing up, as above, so below. This is also Jacob's ladder. It's Jacob's dream, where he said there was a ladder with messengers ascending and descending to heaven. Heaven, El, up here, the top of the dome, the center most high. And all things revolve around El. The only star that doesn't move is your North Star. All your compasses point to El. It points to the north. The messengers were going up and down the ladder, and on the ladder is 32 rungs, the 32 steps of Freemasonry. And those 32 steps represent the 32 vertebrae of the spinal column. And the messengers are traveling up and down the spinal cord. The brain, the most high, the seventh, the crown chakra. We have inside of us 7 chakra. Coincidentally, there are 7 spirits of God written in Revelations 1:4. There are 7 spirits of God before the throne, and their names are written in Isaiah 11, 7:11. Let's go to heaven. 7:11 heaven. El even, Levin, Levin. Their names are the spirit of the fear of the Lord, and we know the fear of the Lord brings forth wisdom. The spirit of wisdom brings forth the spirit of wisdom, and it is wise to take counsel from the spirit of counsel, and counsel gives us the spirit of understanding and the spirit of knowledge, and knowledge is power, which then gives us the spirit of might, and mighty in works of righteousness. Righteousness. Eos. Here's where we use our divination. We're using divination. So we will write, right? Oh my goodness. Give me a pen that works, please. Right. We know what that means. What does right mean? Look that up. Right, you, us. And what does us mean? Right means right. Us means us. But what does eo mean? Well, I looked it up. It means dawn of the horse, or hippos. And I looked up hippos then, and it means dawn of the horse. So really, the right horse, us. Right. So it's really the white horse. This is white horse. He comes in riding on the white horse. And the white horse is right. I am right. It's going to bring you understanding. To understand means to... Hold on. Shut this door. Why do we have a... Where's that light coming from? Okay, let's go into a little bit of language here. And I hope I explained enough so far. To means to understand. We're about to understand God's names. To means to understand. Now, remind me, I need to come back to the Star of David. So we're taking a little road off to the side, and we're going to look at some names. Yah, you, ah. They say that this is God's name. They say it's Yahuwah. Sure, Yah means I am, or Yah can mean Father. You, as in Y-O-U, Father, you understand, or Father is understanding, or I am your understanding. Just as we are in the days of Noah, so we need some understanding. So we have sent to us the mess which means the message I understand, or the mess of the world I understand. And these names are the Yahuwah, they say, comes from this Hebrew name of God written like this. They say Hebrew, of course, is reversed. So this would be your you 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 those who say that the name is Yahweh, you need to have two of the same soundings somewhere in there because you have two of the same letters. Okay, so this you get that? Okay, great. But this means other things as well, and that's where we're going here with. We started talking about the 7 spirits of God, and I labeled those for you. Okay, that's also represented in the 7 candles of the lampstand, and it's also represented in the 7 points of the star. I have another one drawn here for you. I'll try not to take up, too much of your time turning pages. People have a lot of things to do. So here's our star that represents the 7 spirits of God. I wrote them around here in the circle. And the center is the most high chakra, special. It's the center candle in the menorah, which is higher than the others. Now, look closely at the Star of David, and you'll see that in the center here is a cube. Do you see the cube? Now, this is where I would like to have my screen sharing. If you could take out a paper and pen, write these things down to do your own search. Okay, you have your paper and pen. Write flower of life. Write Saturn's cube. Write tesseract. Write allspark. And this is also, you'll see in the middle of the Star of David, and you'll also see that this is the Ark of the Covenant. We're getting there, okay? Now, a cube. A cube has 8 corners, not 7. Not 7. So there's something we're missing, something that's hidden. There's another spirit of God. The 8th spirit. Can you think of what that is? There's a Bible verse or scripture verse. If you love me, obey my commands, and I will give you another helper, the spirit of the hidden truth, to be with you forever. Well, the hidden truth. Well, that makes sense because it's hidden behind this mark here. Wow. Isn't that amazing? So behind the front and center is the rear 8th, the hidden truth. And then there's another one yet, because we have the name of God. the name of God, can also spell this. And this is what was written on the Ark of the Covenant, the name of God. But doesn't that look like 9, as in the 9th Spirit of God? That was what was written. That's what's inside of the Ark. It's the harmony of the 8 spirits. And what was inside the Ark of the Covenant was Aaron's rod, which was budding. It didn't have water or roots. You know, normally a rod needs water and roots and sunlight to grow. And there was also a bowl of manna. Now we can also use our divination for the word manna. Man. Understand this, man. Man-ah. We've eaten the understanding. This is the language of the angels we are learning here. Actually, the way that we're writing here with the dashes is called Latin. That's how Latin is written. Real Latin. Without the dashes, they call that pig Latin. I forget what they call what we write. But they say it's like nothing, like they've been teaching us nothing, really. So, well, whatever. It's all good, because now I get to teach something. Thank you for teaching me, El. All right. Now, what do we know about manna? Is it would turn to worms the day after it was harvested, except for on the 7th day, the Sabbath, which, by the way, is Friday evening to Saturday evening. It is written in Genesis, there was evening and morning the first day. So evening came before morning because darkness came before light. When everything was created, you know, originally it was the Spirit of God hovered over the waters, and then he spoke. El created waves and created a void inside of the waters, which is your aether, your dome over the earth. And then inside of this, everything else was created. It's all just different expressions of energy. What were we just talking about before this? Oh, inside of the ark, manna, 7th day. We could really go off on a lot of side roads here, and this can turn into days-long teaching, because I could talk about, you know, how the days was changed by the beast in 325 AD by Constantine, and how it's even written in scriptures like Daniel 7:25, how the beast intends to change the times and the laws, and it was given into his hand for a time and a half a time, you know, and all of our, I'm speaking to the Christians more now. The days that they follow, or actually most of the world, the days that we follow, the holy days, are not the days that were written in scripture. However, they still have to do with the functions of the flat earth, as Christmas is when the sun reaches its outer perimeter at the Tropic of Capricorn and begins its inward journey. It's reborn. So they say the sun was born. Well, okay. Was, in a way that makes sense, but let's teach the truth about it. December 23rd, it reaches its point, and then December 25th, it begins its inward journey, and they say that it's like a new sun. Well, I don't know about that. I'd have to fly behind in my spaceship and see what really happens. So we're at the Ark of the Covenant. So what this represents, this name, this 9, because manna would usually turn to worms and the rod would normally need water and sunlight and all these things to grow. It represents that this is life, eternal life. Because the things were inside the ark were alive. What else was inside the ark were the commandments. Particularly, we could say the 10 commandments, but I would add to that, of course, the food laws are very important. But really, it comes down to really one simple command, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But you have to consider that others represents plants and animals and everything, because this is the universe, the oneness, the one. We are one with everything. It's kind of a pantheistic view as well, where El and life is in everything that exists. Everything that is alive and vibrating has El. So we must treat the earth as we want to be treated. Treat the animals the way we want to be treated. That doesn't mean, we lock them up and artificially inseminate them and steal their children away. It doesn't mean that, we shouldn't be playing with DNA of the plants. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking, where do I want to go with this? Because I could go so far down this road. So I wanted to show you some other things. All right, you know what? We were here. We're saying how 9 means life. And this is your L here. This is Metatron. You can look Metatron up as well. This is God. This is the Ark of the Covenant. This has the 8 around 1, the center L9, which can also be drawn like this. Do you see that this has 8 points and 9 is the center? Now you could look up other symbols like the Star of Anunnaki, and you could look up other things like the Vatican sun symbol, and you'll see that there's 8 representations. Like this is eternal energy, the Ark of the Covenant. Now, I explained this a little bit in another video. 8 around 1, 9 L center. Okay? Now we're applying that to our temple. It is written, in scripture, we have Boaz and Jacquin, Ra, El is. We have Jacob's ladder. The messengers go up and down our spinal column to our body, sent the messages from the Most High, conduit. We're the temple with the 7 chakra. The 7th is 3 in 1. 3 in 1 symbol. These are the tongues of fire. Remember in Acts, when they received the tongues of fire on their head? That's the spirits of God are the fires in our candles. And we also know that Israel, the Hebrews, I'm brewing something now, thinking on it, that they also have a menorah with 9 candles. So you see how the 7 and 9 represent the same symbol. It's 3-dimensional, 3D, third eye, 3D, third eye. Could see beyond the, one-dimensional drawings into the images of the unseen. The electromagnetic fields. I can picture it. I can see the shapes and the numbers and the energy and the colors and the waves. I can picture it, how it all works. Another scripture, the book of Ruth. Ruth gleaned Boaz's fields. Boaz held the son, Messiah. So Boaz is the fields of truth. Now, some truth was scattered and left behind. Remember, Boaz said, leave some behind for Ruth, for the truth to gather. And truth laid at Boaz's feet, remember? So this is the foundation of the truth of the son of El. The sun is the energy that I just showed you, is the power of the sun. It is the sun of understanding. It is eternal El energy, electromagnetic, spirit vibration of life. Electric. Electre, 3, magi, network, I see. Okay? Are we understanding a little bit more about who God is? Is the Father, the Spirit of the aether, the air that's all around us. Everything is magnetic. It has its own vibration at its own frequency. We even know this when we build towers, that you can't play certain songs where the people start tapping their feet to a certain vibration, and you can match the vibration of the tower and cause it to collapse. I believe Tesla had these kind of ideas. He had some kind of invention that they could do this. So with energy, we can do this where we can match the vibration of anything and either pull it or push it. And that's exactly how they separated the Red Sea and parted the seas and caused the waters to stand up. You could tell the waters to go wherever you want. You can lift up mountains if you want. The faith of a mustard seed. Well, I have the seeds here for you. If you believe, you'll help me create the seed. Here's the seed. This is the seed. And it can grow. I just need the right soil to plant it in. I need the soil of the hearts of those who believe to share the information, and please help direct me to the right people, because it's been 3 years now, 3 years since the sign of Revelations 12 happened September 23rd, 2017 in the month of Tishrei. And my name is William H. Rye Land. William Tishrei Land the fourth. Well, I am Tis H. Rye Land the fourth. 4 being squared. Tishrei being the balance. The balance is the 7th month, which is the 2nd Hebrew year, which represents the 2nd coming of understanding and truth. Or as you would say, Messiah. And I did a whole thing with the numbers, okay? But this doesn't have to be about me, really. It's what I'm trying to do for you, for the world, for us, really. Because we can all be creators. We can all be set free from this weird life that we've been living of religious practices and traditions, of slavery and work, of death and pain and suffering, indoctrination and lies being fed to us. Religions. Look, in the beginning, we were all working together. Once upon a time, all the people were working together and we were creating something beautiful. We called our city the city of Atlantis, and we were building a tower to the heavens, a beautiful tower. Everyone was working together. And then Satan, being jealous and wanting to rule over the people, decided to divide them by spreading lies amongst them. He would tell one group of people one thing, one group of workers, that there's another group of workers conspiring against you, and another group of workers, and around it went. People stopped trusting each other. So then they began speaking in codes. The codes turned to languages. The groups, then we have our own religions. We're divided by religion, by language, by color, by government against citizen. We're divided in so many ways. Divide and conquer. And so it is till this day that the religions, they all have little pieces of the truth, but they've been fed lies with it. Satan says, well, this is what this represents, and this is what that represents. Well, that's not the truth. Because you have the Muslims bowing down to a box and putting on special clothing and repeating the same prayers. How is that going to get anyone into heaven? How is any of that helpful, as if God requires you to have certain clothing? What about the people who can't afford to have clothing or to go to buildings? What about them? Are they condemned because they can't afford it? Well, you guys, I see that you've been basically good people your whole lives. You haven't stolen, you haven't murdered, and you've kept pretty much all the laws, but you didn't repeat the same prayers every day, which, by the way, I'm sick of hearing the same prayers. That's not communion with me. That's not a relationship. That's not thinking or meditating. That's repeating someone else's idea of religion. So, no, that doesn't make sense. Okay. Christians put on nice clothing, they go to buildings, and they sing to a cross, a representation of torture and murder. A cross that represents the sword and the stone, represents that the truth has been sacrificed. And they have these ideas about what marriage is supposed to be. You know, a lot of religions have these ideas about what marriage is. Sure, if you find some woman who wants to spend life with you, but how do you know if you want to spend the rest of your life if you're only living right now? Right now, yes, right now I love you, but tomorrow, maybe, and the next day, who knows? But why should we put bondage on each other's fingers and say, you belong to me? You're bound to me until death do us part. Well, I don't know about that. It is written, there will be no marriage or given in marriage in the kingdom of heaven. Get rid of that. And we also have these other ideas about the Christians, or they have many denominations, demon nations divided. They've been divided even more through different scriptures. And you can go through and watch my other video on Paul, and you can see where a lot of these ideas come from, like speaking in tongues. And, you know, and the Hebrews have the things where they say, hey, you guys, you have to be circumcised on the 8th day. And, you know, they have a penis checking station at the gates of heaven. Before you can get in, they got to check your willy and see if you have your skin chopped off or not. Doesn't matter what kind of person you've been your whole life, but you have to have the right clothing. And by the way, we're going to see if you cut your beard or not. Now, if you have cut your beard and you're not a Nazarene, you're going to burn it. We're going to turn you away. It doesn't matter that you've been a good person, that you haven't lied, that you haven't stolen, that you feed the hungry and clothe the naked. That's all very good. But your beards were cut. Now you're condemned to hell. No. And why would El, who created us all unique and all the energy, vibrations of life, and when you go into the fields of wildflowers, there's many different kinds of flowers, many different colors and many different designs. Why would he design us to all act the same way? And we say the same prayers and we dress the same way. It's like once you have one Muslim, you have a million. What's the difference? Because everyone's acting the same. Everyone's name is Muhammad. What's the joke? When you go into the mosque and you say, Muhammad, everyone turns around. Look, guys, look, don't get mad, all right? I might have some jokes, and also just trying to reveal the truth to you, okay? It's almost the same with every religion. They all have, you know, our names. You know, you go into a Christian church, and everyone's named John or Paul. Paul means least. You have your Hindus, which they have pieces of the truth too, because they have the chakras, right? But they paint the dots on their head. Like, you don't have to paint a dot on the outside of your head. That represents the third eye, sure. Just like the Hebrews wear the box on their head, and that represents what's supposed to be inside of her head. They take little scriptures and put it in this box that they wear with all these straps. Hold on, guys. If I don't do this, I'm not getting into heaven. It's just saying, you know, tied around my arms and stuff. Here's my third eye. Calm down. I'm setting you free. So they put inside little scriptures. Well, what that represents is the box that's supposed to be inside of the head, just like the Hindus' dot. It's your third eye opened. Bloop. And the way that these things are opened is, of course, by following the very, very simple commands. Nature rules. Naturally. Naturals. Love nature, love each other as you love yourself. Part of loving ourselves is putting inside of us only what is clean, organic, natural foods. Now think of it like this. If God spoke vibration and he created the plants, which then brought forth fruits, then God is in the food. He's in the fruits. He's the vibration. In fact, the reason that I believe, or the way that I believe that plants grow is, Revelation says that they will not need the power of the sun because El will give them, or Nine will give them the light. The Lamb will be their light. Okay? I don't believe we even need sun to grow fruits and plants. I believe the reason the plants grow, as we notice, is water conducts electricity, and in the ground is absorbing rays of the sun or causing the ground to vibrate, and the waters, then the particles are vibrating and going into the stems, and it grows. That's why it grows more when we have more water, because it has more conduit. Now, I spoke a little bit about this in another teaching. If we make these nano energy cells and we rain it down on the water, we don't need the sunlight because everything is already vibrating eternal energy, and it'll grow. Or we could just electrify our water. I bet we can grow in the dark. We should try that, electrifying the water. And when lightning hits the ground, it gives everything energy. And water is helpful. All right, so without getting off track too much, I was talking about religions. Let's go back to, we left out some, like Buddha. Buddha, if you look up who Buddha was, he was a prince. He left his family behind, his wife and his children and his money and everything, come down from his throne and live among the suffering and suffer with the people. Which is also a story of what Messiah did, coming down from his throne, which is Isaiah 53, where it says that he suffered with the people. So it's the same. So you see how religions all have a piece of the truth, okay? Like the Muslim box represents the Ark of the Covenant, which represents, also the Star of David, which represents Saturn's cube, which is like in New York and different places all around the world, which represents the flower of life, which is the Hindu belief, which, and then also Buddha, as I'm talking to you about the Messiah. We can go to Isaiah. I says, Isaiah. I say, understand this. I say, And Jeremiah is, here I am, Yah, or here I am, I am your understanding. 53. Now, I won't read the whole thing, but it says, despised and rejected by man, a man of pains and knowing sickness, and as one from whom the face is hidden, being despised, we did not consider him. Truly he has borne our sickness and carried our pains, yet we reckoned him smitten and stricken by Elohim and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgression, he was crushed for our crookedness, and the chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. And we all like sheep went astray, each one of us turned from his own way. And 9 has laid on him the crookedness of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, but he did not open his mouth. He was led as a lamb to slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearers is silent, but he did not open his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment. And as for his generation, who considered that he shall be cut off from the land of the living? For the transgression of my people he was stricken, and he was appointed a burial site with the wrong and with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was deceit in his mouth. Well, that could represent the Messiah in scriptures. It could represent Buddha. It could also represent myself. I did also give everything that I had to go and join the people in Africa in their suffering, where I lived with them and I had no running water. I had to sleep on the ground. We didn't have very good food. I had to poop in a hole, and we didn't have electricity, and it was very hot, and it was suffering. So that was pretty much what Buddha did. And I also did time in jail for things where I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't commit any sin, and I didn't really open my mouth because I didn't know how to defend myself in this weird system. Because really, the way that the whole system here in America is, they speak a whole different language. They speak legalese. It's really, I don't know whether they realize it or not, the judges and everything, and the lawyers, if they realize what they're doing. But he who set these things up, who is above them, set it up for confusion. He says that there's profit in confusion. And that's in the book, Behold a Pale Horse, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, which was one of Lucifer's documents. So anyway, I don't want to dwell on these things on myself. I want to talk about myself. I just want to really just show you, want to teach you other things. So where were we? But since we were talking about it, when the sign happens of Revelations 12, I had learned about the sign only a couple weeks before it was supposed to happen. I was following the star. I had noticed that star was bright at different times. I was always wondering, what is this star, Jupiter? And I learned that the sign was supposed to be fulfilled in Revelation. So I had been taking care of a family over there in Africa for a couple years. I was just about out of money at this point. And I was like, maybe I'll go to the east, because then I'll be closer to what I believed was the true Israel at that time, although I was learning otherwise and some other teachings as well. So I got on my phone just to see how much a ticket would cost. So fly to Gambia, ticket price, and lo and behold, the price was $777.77 on September 7th for a flight leaving in 7 days on September the 14th. Wow. So that's 7 sevens, and I'm going. And you know what? I'm going to take everything I have, and this is probably the end of the world, so I'm just going to give it all away. And maybe, I don't know if I'm coming back. I didn't know. So I went. I hurried to get my visa and whatever I had to do, which, by the way, at that time I was still on probation. So, I really couldn't tell my PO at this point because I had already purchased a ticket. And if she was going to say no, then I would be disobeying. So it was better for me not to even say anything. I wasn't even sure if I was going to come back, and it wouldn't even matter if the world was going to end anyway, right? So I went. I was there for about a month. And I did see the star. I did see the birth shining bright that morning of September 23rd. And I fulfilled also I kept the other appointed times, the Day of Atonement, which was 10 days after. I didn't eat anything. I afflicted my being, but really, I was already afflicting my being for years as I was, giving everything to someone else. I didn't even have a home. I could have had my own apartment. I could have been paying off a car or paying off my fines, but instead I afflicted and sacrificed what I could have had for someone else. So that was really atonement. And that's what Isaiah 58 means by a fast. It doesn't mean to stop eating necessarily. We need food. We need food for energy and information. But it means to deny ourselves of things so that way we can give to those who don't have things. So really that was atonement. But I did also fast on top of that, and that I became sick. the environment though was so dirty, the water was dirty, and I had a cut then on my leg, which then became infected, and it looked like leprosy actually when I investigated it later. But I did heal from that when I came back to a clean environment and I was doing natural antibiotics. You know, I had my essential oils with me when I went, but they, you know, I was still in a dirty environment and they just weren't quite strong enough. So, you know, as a matter of fact, when I came back, I did find a couple of antibiotics, pharmaceuticals, which I really don't use any powder substances as much as possible if I have something better that I can replace it with. Because powdery pharmaceuticals, processed, first of all, to do that, you know, you have to cook it down and really, they can over process things and kill it, which takes the vibration out. Or when they play with the molecules, they can steal DNA and information from it. So it's incomplete information sometimes, the pharmaceuticals, and also our GMO food is the same way. See, I can get into this whole GMO thing, explaining this. What I'm saying is oils are better than powder because oils are lipid soluble. They're the same as our cells. Our cells have an oil barrier, and then they have water in between, and then more oil. So the powdery stuff just kind of floats on the surface of the oil. I mean, some of it's going to go in, right? But it's dirty. It's like dirty fuel. And then, you know, it's like dirty diesel fuel, which then clogs up your filters. So pharmaceuticals, when they go through our liver and our kidneys, you know, that's being wiped off of our cells and it's sticking inside of us, which is why they say things like aspartame is not good for your liver. And I'm saying it's not aspartame in itself. It's pharmaceutical powdery engineered substances that do not marry with our cells. And it's difficult for our cells to read information that's been altered. It's like reading a foreign language. So let me just explain GMO foods in the same way really quick. So El created us. First, he created plants, cells, and he created us, our cells. We came from the earth. As a matter of fact, we came from the mother earth. Our flesh is of the earth, gave birth to art. We art the heart of the birth of the earth of the Virgin Mary, or we could say the Virgin Gaia, the earth, our flesh. And then El, Father, puts his life inside of us, Zeus, and we're electrical beings. So he also, you know, the plants, when they're wholesome and organic, they're information and vibrating energy. And our cells are the same, and they fit together. When we eat the plants, we chew them up, and we have then we extract the oils. We poop out the like the fiber, and our cells absorb the oils, and they fit together like puzzle pieces and vibrate our cells and give us information, data. So when we change that information, you know, not only are we killing it sometimes by the way we process it, but we're altering the code. If you rearrange the molecules, you're altering the code, and the pieces don't quite fit. It's missing information. So we become confused then. That's part of the reason we have Babel. That's part of the reason we're in the days of Noah, because we've destroyed our understanding because we think that we know better than God and just leave things alone when it comes to foods and plants and animals and creation. Let creation be creation. We really created our own slavery. For example, we take these animals, we take the bull and the cow, and we take them and put them into our barns so we can milk them. And so they're hanging out inside in the darkness, and we have to grow all this food for them and harvest it and bring it inside for them to eat. And then they're pooping inside, so then we got to shovel all the poop out into the fields. When it would be better if we just let them roam in the fields. They find their own food and they poop out in the fields. We wouldn't have to grow them so much food, but even if you want to grow them food, just grow them pastures. Just scatter some seed, grow some kale. How about some herbs? What do the animals like to eat? You want some lemongrass? How about that? Let them wander in the woods. You know, they'll forage for themselves. They know what to eat. They have their little animal brains. Maybe their brains aren't as small as we think. They have their own programming. So you see how thinking that we know better than creation has created our own slavery and our own work. That's just one example. You know, for the sake of more money and more product, we then we do this weird thing called artificial insemination. All right, guys, nothing better to do. Children, turn this off. But to jerk off a cow into a cup, a bull, and then play with its semen, and then shove it up the cow's private parts. Because I had to alter some things to try to bring forth some other product, maybe with growth hormones or whatever the people are doing. I don't know. I don't even know why you think like this. Where does that even come from? It's so weird. Would you want someone to do that to your wives? Hey, women, would you please talk to your husbands, please, and tell them that you would not enjoy this, to have, you know, some strangers putting their arms in your places and then taking away your children so that way they could have your milk? Sure, the animals will have extra milk. There's nothing wrong with milk, right? Let things be natural. The Indians didn't feed the buffalo, did they? Somehow the buffalo survived throughout the winters. How is that? All right, I digress. This was just an example of how we created our own slavery by knowing better, and how we create our own sickness because we want to alter the foods. But since we're on the subject, I want to mention gluten intolerance. Is the reason for gluten intolerance that we become suddenly unable to absorb the wheat that we've been eating for thousands of years? Or is it more likely because the farmers, as I've learned, spray their wheat with glyphosate, which is a poison that comes from a former chemical weapons company called Monsanto, which is, if you unscramble Monsanto, spells Satan's MO or mode of operation. They spray their wheat because they want to kill it earlier, turn it brown so it's easier on their farm equipment so they can harvest it before it's supposed to be harvested, so they can hurry up and plant something else. Not only is it sprayed with poison, but it's pre-harvested, so it's incomplete, which is the same as the doctor coming to your home when your wife is pregnant and ripping the child out of her at 4 months. We can go into this. So our food is incomplete. It's incomplete sentences, incomplete information, and our cells are intolerant. They're like, what is this? I don't understand. I don't get, what is this? It's a bunch of S's and N's. There's no vowels in this information. I can't even make a word out of it. It's like bleh, bleh. And so our bodies can't absorb it and we fill up. Either we poop it out or we fill up. I'm saying that, you know, a lot of the reason that people are heavier these days is because they're full of babble of undigestible foods, plastic foods, dead foods, GMO foods. And really, the people who are big are really starving to death because their body hasn't received any nutrition. A lot of the things that we're eating are chemical foods, sugary, tricked by treats. Santa, Satan's claws. And boy, did we go off track on this one, didn't we? Again, it's one of these videos. We can just go on forever talking about foods. We started talking about even coming and ripping a child out of a woman before it's supposed to be born, which is another thing. Women don't have to be in pain to give birth. That was, again, came from man. God would not curse his own creation. That's another lie from Satan. Why would El curse his own beloved creation and the people? We cursed ourselves when we say we know better than God. We know better than creation. We know better than the food commandments. So we think we know better. Let's lay the women on their backs to give birth. Nothing else in nature does this. And by the way, haven't we considered that it would be better to give birth in water? If water comes out, why don't we give birth in warm water, squatting or standing or floating? And another thing is, when these days when they give birth, they clamp the baby's umbilical cord immediately and then cut it. Now, how was the child breathing when it was inside the womb? It was breathing through the umbilical cord. That's its oxygen supply. So in the same way, you can give birth in water and it can still breathe through the umbilical cord. That's why I say give birth in water. And I also say that we should not be clamping the umbilical cord. We should let nature run its course. Let's not pre-harvest the child. Let's not cut off that final download of data. That's my cord that I plug into my computer or into my memory card, and I'm downloading the child. We're growing the child with information. And that information comes from where? It comes from the food that the woman eats. It comes from what she watches, what she listens to, all these are gateways. All these are receptors of sound. Some sound we hear with their ears, some sound we see with their eyes, some sound we smell, and some sound we taste. It's all sound. It's all information, and it's all vibration. So when we're growing a child, it's important to guard. It's always important to guard these things. That's what it means to guard the commands. But even more so when, a woman's having a child, you want to grow this thing, as clean and pure as you can. Responsible for that because you're giving birth to a new life. So guard what we eat and what we watch and everything. And then when we give birth, let nature run its course. Let's see what happens. We don't even know what will happen because we don't let things go. And I do believe that this would take away a lot from the pain of giving birth. It's okay to do our stretching, our yoga. Sometimes you hear these stories of drug addicts just giving birth to children in bathrooms, and they didn't make a huge commotion. Of course, maybe they were on heroin. Okay, good. So give the women some heroin. Kill the pain. These are plants. Plants. It is written, the plants are for the service of mankind. Psalm 104. It is also written in Genesis 1:29. I give you all seed-bearing plants, seed-bearing fruits, and everything that is green is for food, for the people and for the animals. So every plant that has seeds and grows on its own, we can use. It is not right to make plants illegal. What should be illegal is your patented chemical foods. Poison. We're creating our own ignorance, and ignorance multiplies from generation to generation because we become stupider and stupider and more ignorant and full of babble and confusion. We pass that on to our children because we don't even know better. So how can we expect them to? And we grow them on crap. And then we wonder, why? Why, oh, why do we have dementia? Why do we have Down syndrome? Why do we have ADHD? Why do we have all these things? And then we prescribe pharmaceuticals as if that's going to help anything, that have more side effects and that cause more problems than the original problem. And then we need to raise up more doctors. We need to have more people, have more schools, more false information. Everyone's writing, trying to figure everything out. It's just more babble and confusion. More and more people to take care of people, when we could just have better people that take care of themselves, and we can then all be free and put our minds together and progress forward and create something beautiful, become creators, and begin to live life. Because if we are healthy and free, able to think, we can consolidate. And who knows what we can do many greater things. We live in a polluted environment. If I'm able to achieve even this understanding here in this polluted environment, and I'm like the least of the ones, my brain capacity, my memory and stuff is not the greatest. My organization is not the greatest. So El chose me to show you how much more you can do than me. So if we live in a healthy environment and you can be smarter than me, imagine what we can do. So this is the information we need to share with the world. And things like coronavirus, these viruses and these things are not going to go away until we stop acting the way that we do. We could come together as all people come together, all religions, all colors, governments with citizens and everyone, and come together to work towards one utopia. We can once again build a tower to the heavens. We can do away with the lies and the babble. Stop following your leader, Cipher, Lucifer. It's the opposite of decipher. To decipher means to understand. Therefore, Lucifer means to confuse. So you're following Babylon. The world today is still following the same devil who divided us back in Atlantis. And the very people in the Illuminati and the elite speak of these lost cities and these things as if they miss them. Well, the very person you're following is the one who led us away from this and caused this destruction. Did Atlantis sink into the ocean, or did the ocean levels come up as we've been slowly warming up our Earth and melting the ice at the perimeters? Well, guess what, guys? With energy, we can push it all down. We can say, go down, waters, and push the waters out of the earth. It's even written in Revelations that there is no more sea. So we can push the waters down and we'll expose all kinds of lands. And we can pull the waters where we want to pull them. We can pull streams inland. We can create aqueducts if you want to do it that way, and pumps. We can use the things that we have, like your natural gas people who make their horizontal pipes deep underground and pull the water in and up and out to the dry lands and create fountains of mineral-rich water to then bring life to the lands and grow forests and build cities. So many ideas. But we can't do this when we're divided. So I keep sending messages to the elites, but I'm not sure that they're even paying attention. Or maybe they don't have any power. Maybe they don't have the power to say, no, I'm not listening to you, Lucifer. Go F yourself. Without the lies, he has nothing. I had some posts. I feel bad about deleting. I woke up in the middle of the night. And I was like half asleep, and I was like, screw it all. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I deleted a lot of good information. So now I'm trying to reproduce it for you, okay? So it's going to be in a different order now. Maybe this will get someone's attention. So we were talking about who God is, scriptures, how explain to you another story in Scripture to prove this to you. Script yours. The story of Joseph when he met his first wife, Rachel. Names. So Joseph, he met her at the well. Remember, he pushed the lid off the well and he was watering her sheep. Well, Rachel's name means ewe, or EWE, which means, a female sheep or lamb. Isn't that interesting? So then Jacob is working for her. He makes a deal with her father. I forget what his name was. No, it wasn't Laban, was it? Whatever it was. I'm sure that's significant as well. Anyway, he made a deal. I'm going to work for her for 7 years. So he works for 7 years, and then they go to get married. And what happens is he wakes up next to Leah, not Rachel. And Leah's name means weary. Weary, because he was tired from working for 7 years. And then he made a deal with him to work 7 more years for his lamb. So he was Leah. I was Leah. I was laying with Leah, which would make sense. I always wondered why. How wouldn't he know that he was sleeping with someone besides who he was meant to? What did they cover their face or something? And just like, I don't know. You picture. Obviously, there's something. It's more than just a literal story, which is really the scriptures. It's just really all representations, same as your Greek mythology. Greek mythology is the same as scriptures. You have Hercules, who is Emmanuel. I'm man, you are El. Where's my paper? Let's do our divination, guys. You shall call his name. I'm man. You are El. Well, at least we know who El is now, right? I'm just a man, and you are El. He puts his life in. It's God and man. Guess what, guys? We're all God and men. Or we can be. If we stop putting garbage inside ourselves, we'll increase our vibration and become more like El, or communicate with the Arcasian files and tune our radios in. If we're radios, right? These are my antennas. We're doing our yoga. And we're trying to collect the information from the vibration around us. But that also has to do with what's inside our radio parts. So as we clean ourselves, we're tuning our radios into the clear signals. Clear. And then I'm Manuel. I'm the conduit, the radio, bringing you the information. It's coming down here and out here. It's my sword. Okay. We can do some kung fu later. Anyway, I don't know what that would do, but I'm not going to show you all my moves. Don't show them all your moves. Or show them your fake moves, so then they think they know your moves, but do something else, like playing poker. No. I'll tell you all my tricks, because maybe they're my tricks, or maybe I'm just telling you they're my tricks. So what I do is I train people to think I'm betting a certain way. I'll just play the odds, and I'll make sure I have a hand every time I call, and make sure they see my cards so they know that I have something. So then when I'm ready to bluff, they're trained. So then I'll put all my chips in. Yeah, I got a good hand now. The hand when I have nothing. Absolutely nothing. What better time than now? No, but really it's more than that. Anyway, that was a little side note. We were talking about Greek mythology. Where I put my pen. I was throwing stuff. Emmanuel is Hercules, is God and man. Zeus represents El, the god who has the lightning bolts. Same with Jupiter. Jupiter was king planet, god of the gods, El. And the personifications are a representation of creation, how it was created. And really, I love the stories. I think it's beautiful. That doesn't mean to go and bow down to statues of these things. God's like, why are you guys worshiping statues that can't see or hear or move? Those who worship them will become like them. Well, yeah, certainly we've become pretty dumb, pretty blind. And it's also written, first of all, it's written when he created man, he said, let us make man in our image. And I always wondered, who is us? Do you mean us, the 9 spirits of God, or do you mean us as in the Most High and his angels, which are his children, which could be gods of different parts of creation? You could have Poseidon, who controls the waters. You can have your god of the sun. You can have your Isis, your god of the moon, and the god of your wind. And you could have all these things as representations, sure. Maybe they are the children. They are children because he gave birth to them. Mother Earth and Father Spirit brought these forth. He just says, have no other gods before me. So obviously that means that there must be other gods. Otherwise, why would he say it? So we need to have El first. And what is El again? Who is El? Life. Put life and truth and understanding before other things, before money. So you see, we've sacrificed life and the natural way of living and nature for more money. When we artificially inseminate cows, when we boot our things up with growth hormones to make them bigger, that's not natural. We've sacrificed their natural lives. And then we eat our own products. Whatever the animals are that we're eating, that's what we become. Whatever our GMO plants are, we become GMO. So if we confuse anything, we become confused. If we make the animals depressed, we become depressed. And I think if I was a chicken locked inside of a cage all day, unable to move because I was so crowded around, but even if I could, boot it up with growth hormones, I'm so fat that I can't move. No feathers on my chest because I'm laying in my own poop. I think I would feel pretty depressed about that, pretty anxious. And I think then whoever ate me would also become like me. So, want to know what your problem is? Simple. Let nature go, and we will be set free as well. Heal our environment, and we will heal as well. And that's when I'd like to introduce you to the unlimited, pure energy of the Ark of the Covenant, the Star of Anunnaki, the Tesseract, the Allspark, 9, the name of God, 8, around the center, L, electromagnetic 9. Because this will save us from all of our burning, all of our cars burning oxygen. 7 billion people. And I learned that it takes 17,000 trees to provide enough oxygen for one car for one average year. That was one study. And I always like to choose the higher numbers because then I aim higher. And I know that we'll solve the problem quicker if we take the high end rather than the low end. Another one said that it took an acre of trees to provide for one car. And another place it said that it takes 8 trees to provide enough oxygen for one person. So no matter how you look at it, a car is chewing up 100 times more oxygen than a human being. So when we drive our cars all year and people are dying, we've contributed to their deaths. This year I've saved nearly 3,000 lives because I ride a bike rather than drive a car, because I've allowed them to have the oxygen that I would have otherwise used. So you want to save some lives? Stop driving. And don't worry. We'll be able to drive again. We'll be able to fly forever. We'll be able to build homes in the heavens. We can even make bicycles and anything with eternal energy. We ourselves can fly. We can make ourselves like Iron Man. I want to be like, have my Iron Man suit. Imagine what you can do with unlimited energy. Cities are where we have the biggest pollution problems. If you go on to the internet now, take your little fingers, do your little magic, put in like air quality, cities, search which cities have the worst air quality. You'll see that a majority of the world is in the red with their air quality. And whatever has brought us to this point, we're continuing to do that. So even if you say today it's not a big deal, we're still walking down that road, and it will be a bigger and bigger deal. And I'm saying that today we have reached the threshold. We've reached the line. We chew up some oxygen, people die. The more we drive, the more people die. We are at the threshold. We're not producing more than we can use. We're using as much as we can produce. And if we have more forest fires, more people are going to die. Coronavirus, respiratory disease. So I'm saying, we could change these things today. Where's the media? Why are my people not sharing this? Where are the editors? I give you permission to edit the videos. I give you permission to share in your own words. To share with the media, so that way we can stop driving when we don't have to. In the cities, we can, for now, ride bicycles. Riding bikes is healthy. And while we're riding, we can pick up our groceries. And when we're not riding, we can be at home watching information on the media or on YouTube. We can put a plan together to repair everything, build a new world, just provide for what we have. There's a lot of people starving in other places too, and we can provide for them as well. Think, if everyone stays home, they already have their homes, and the hotels are empty. So we can bring the people who have no homes and no food and put them in the hotels and take care of them, and we all take care of each other. Consolidate, bring us together into the cities, sure. We still have to ship in our food. Those will be the first things that we change is our energy grid. We'll plug in our new energy to our grid, and also our food transportation network will be the first things that we have to adjust then. So either we'll build our new transportation hovercrafts, or we'll implement electric motors into our trucking that we have now, which I had another idea, which maybe I'll show you here. Here. This is a cylinder. This is another type of energy to replace the same method that you use now with your combustible engines is a piston pushes through a cylinder. So this gives you the same motion, but this is a different type of electric engine than what you have today, or electric motor. And this, your piston is your magnet. And one side is positive and the other side, of course, is negative. Okay. And on both ends of your cylinder, you have an electromagnet. Electromagnets that you can make whichever you want, either positive or negative. So say if this here is positive of our magnet, and this over here is negative, when we make both sides here positive and positive, this positive is going to push this positive this direction, and it's going to attract the negative side of the magnet to this positive. So it's going to cause our cylinder to go over here. And then we just switch the signal to negative, negative. Positive, positive. And all we have to do is make our cylinder, then we wrap it with copper or gold to collect the vibration that's created from the magnetic field of the magnet. So we're creating energy that we feed back into the electromagnet, which, by the way, it doesn't even take much charge to power an electromagnet. I looked up that a AA battery or AAA can lift up 100 pounds, 100 pounds, just by wrapping your wire around your nail or whatever and creating an electromagnet. And that's a lot. For that little bit of energy, I would think we'd be creating more than that in this. Right? And more than that, you don't have to do just the ends. You can actually put a couple along here. So it goes positive, negative, negative, positive, energy. In that same way, you can make electromagnetic weapons to shoot projectiles, magnetic projectiles, or whatever is going to react with the electromagnetic charge. You just have your along the line, different sections. You know how to do this. It's the CERN Hadron Collider. You have it's your roller coaster there at Hershey Park that launches you with an electromagnetic charge. It's just all about timing. And it interacts. You can shoot projectiles if you want, or lasers, or both. The way I envisioned it was to, and maybe I should stop the video here. And we'll do part 2. And part 2 will be more of the inventions, okay? I think we have a foundation. Do we understand the foundation of the Earth a little bit? Do you really want to get into me explaining to you what the Earth is not, how it's not a spinning ball, how a lot of the numbers represent 666, how they tell you that, the belief that we're traveling around the sun is called heliocentric. And if you look up who Helios is, it's the sun god Baal, who is also known as Lucifer, who is also known as Apollyon, who is also written about in Revelations 9:11. 9/11, that's not just a coincidence. But let me get into that in the next video as well. All right, that's enough for now. This is our foundation. Peace. And I'm going to make another video